Papunta ako sa bahay ng aking anak na si Patricia. Excited sana ako. Pero isang tawag mula sa abogado ko ang nagbigay sa akin ng matinding hiya. Gusto niyang ipadeklara akong baliw. Walang utang na loob, 30 taon akong naging ama at parang ilaw ng tahanan sa opisina. Binuo ko ang lahat para sa kanya. Nawalan ako ng oras sa asawa ko. Ngayon, inakala niyang luma na ako. Isang lolo na lang. Pero hindi niya alam, may lihim na yaman ako. Ang ebidensya ng kanyang pagnanakaw, pa 42 milyon. Ito ay tungkol sa dangal ko bilang ama. Ipakikita ko sa kanya kung sino ang nagturo sa kanya lumaban. Kung ikaw din ay tinraidor ng sarili mong pamilya, kwentuhan mo ako sa comments. Like and share. I was on my way to my daughter Patricia's house for our weekly dinner. Looking forward to a warm family evening when my lawyer, Attorney Miguel Ramos, sent me a message. Call me urgently. My heart, it skipped a beat. I dialed the number and what he told me about my Anak, daughter, shocked me. You won't believe what she wanted to do. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. My hands were steady on the quarterly reports when my phone buzzed. The screen lit up with Ati and Miguel's name. Call me immediately. Emergency regarding Patricia. Mr. Buenavista. The pen slipped from my fingers. 30 years of building Buenavista Tech, and I'd never seen Ati. Miguel write emergency about family. I dialed before the screen went dark. Rick. His voice was professional steel. I need to warn you. Patricia filed a lawsuit. She wants you declared incompetent to run Buenavista Tech. The words hit like ice water. What are you saying? That's impossible. She's my daughter. She has a group of shareholders. They claim you've lost your edge due to emotional instability. I dropped into my chair. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the Makati skyline blurred. The same view I'd watched for decades while building this company for her, for our family. How much time does she have? Hearing in 1 week. We need to act fast. My mouth went dry. 1 week? Rick, she's been preparing this for months. The documentation is extensive. Financial records showing supposedly erratic decisions. Testimonies from board meetings. I stood pacing between my desk and the window. Rain streaked the glass like tears I couldn't shed. What testimonies? Claims about emotional outbursts, questionable strategic choices. They're painting you as a man losing control, losing tiwala, trust. That's absurd. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Had I shown too much passion in recent meetings? Defended old strategies too fiercely? I know it is, but they have paperwork, Rick, lots of it. The office felt smaller suddenly. Awards lining the walls, photos of groundbreaking ceremonies, all meaningless if my own daughter could take it away. Who else knows? The filing is sealed for now, but the shareholders she's recruited, James Castro, Carmen Reyes, 3 others, they're meeting tomorrow. I gripped the phone tighter. She recruited them with promises of higher dividends under new leadership. Her leadership. The betrayal cut deeper than any business loss I'd faced. Patricia, my brilliant, ambitious daughter, the one I'd groomed to eventually take over, but not like this. Never like this. What do you need from me? Everything. Financial records, medical documentation, proving your competence, character witnesses. We're building a defense from scratch in 7 days. I closed my eyes. 48 hours ago, I'd been planning to mention her promotion to CEO within the year. Now she was trying to destroy me. Rick, are you there? I'm here. My voice sounded foreign. Schedule whatever meetings you need. I'll clear my calendar. Good. And Rick, don't confront her yet. We need to understand their strategy first. After hanging up, I sat in the growing darkness. Makati's lights twinkled below, but the warmth had left the room. Left my life. I gathered my things mechanically. Coat, briefcase, keys. The same routine I'd followed for 30 years, but everything had changed in one phone call. The elevator descended in silence. 50 floors down, my legs felt unsteady. In the parking garage, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, trying to make sense of it. Patricia was having dinner with her family tonight, our weekly tradition. Should I go? pretend nothing had happened. The thought of sitting across from her, making small talk while she planned my destruction. But maybe I needed to see her face, study her expressions, understand who my daughter had become. I started the engine and pulled into Manila's evening traffic, heading toward Alabang, toward answers I wasn't sure I wanted to find. Patricia's front door opened before I could knock. She stood there in her cream sweater, smile perfectly calibrated. Dad, right on time. Her hug felt rehearsed. Come in. It's freezing out there. I studied her face for cracks in the mask. Found none. Sophia's been asking about Lolo, Grandpa, all day. Patricia led me through the foyer. She drew you another picture. The house smelled like adobo and sinungaling, lies. I followed her into the open kitchen where Anton was setting the table. He looked up with nervous energy. Rick, good to see you. His handshake lingered too long. Can I get you a drink? Wine? Something stronger? Wine's fine. I watched Patricia move around the kitchen, efficient, controlled, the same way she handled board meetings. Sophia bounded in, wearing paint-stained overalls. Lolo. I lifted her easily, grateful for something genuine in this house of pretense. What's this I hear about a picture? It's us at the office. See, that's you at your big desk. And that's me in the spinning chair. She thrust a crayon drawing at me. Stick figures in what resembled Buena Vista Tech's logo colors. Innocent, trusting, everything her mother wasn't. It's beautiful, sweetheart. I kissed her forehead, catching Patricia watching us. Something flickered across her expression. Guilt? Calculation? Sophia, wash your hands for dinner, Anton said, his voice too bright. Patricia moved between stove and counter with practiced efficiency. Dad, you look tired. Maybe you should rest more. The loaded question. I met her eyes. Work keeps me sharp. By the way, how are things in the finance department? She paused, wooden spoon halfway to her mouth for tasting. Let's not talk about work at dinner. Since when? I kept my tone light. You usually love discussing quarterly projections. Not tonight. She turned back to the stove. Family time is sacred. Sacred like loyalty used to be. Anton cleared his throat. Sophia drew that picture during her art time today. She's been talking about visiting the office again. Maybe next week, I said, wondering if I'd still have an office next week. Sophia climbed into her booster seat. Lolo, can you tell the story about the first computer? Which story, sweetheart? When you built the company in the garage. I glanced at Patricia. She was slicing chicken with surgical precision. That was before your mommy was born. We had nothing but ideas and determination. And Lola, Grandma, Elena helped, Sophia added. The knife paused. Patricia's shoulders tensed. Yes, I said softly. Lola Elena helped with everything. Silence stretched. Anton filled it by turning on background music, something classical and safe. Dinner proceeded with artificial normalcy. Sophia chattered about preschool. Anton discussed his latest architectural project. Patricia asked polite questions about my health, my sleep, whether I was eating properly. Every word felt like reconnaissance. The chicken is excellent, I said. Mama Elena's recipe. Patricia's voice carried an edge. She always said cooking was about love, not perfection. Another loaded statement. Elena had said that usually while trying to get me to spend less time at the office. She was wise about many things. Yes, she was. Patricia's fork clicked against her plate. She understood priorities. The accusation hung in the air. Sophia looked between us, sensing the undercurrent. Lolo, why are you sad? Out of the mouths of babes. I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just thinking about what? About how much I love our family dinners. Patricia's eyes met mine across the table. For a moment, I saw the little girl who used to wait by the window for me to come home. But the moment passed. More wine? Anton asked, already reaching for the bottle. The evening crawled forward. Dessert, coffee. Sophia showing me her latest drawings, normal family rituals masking extraordinary betrayal. At 8:15, I stood to leave. "Thank you for dinner. As always, it was perfect." Patricia walked me to the door. "Dad, are you sure you're okay? You seem different tonight." I studied her face. The concern looked genuine. Maybe it was. Maybe she'd convince herself this was for my own good. Para sa'yo lang. It's only for you. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just reflecting on how much Buena Vista means to me, to our family." Something shifted in her expression. "Guard going up. Drive safely. The roads are slick tonight." I kissed her cheek. She didn't pull away, but she didn't lean into it either. "Good night, Patricia." "Good night, Dad." The door closed behind me with a soft click. I stood on her front steps, rain beginning to fall again. Through the window, I could see her clearing dishes, moving efficiently, methodically, planning my destruction. I parked overlooking Manila Bay, city lights reflecting off the black water. My hands shook as I dialed Ati. Miguel again. "Rick, how did dinner go?" Like a performance. She knows how to act concerned while stabbing me in the back. Rain drummed on the windshield. "Tell me everything." "She's been preparing for 6 months. She has records of your emotional outbursts at meetings." "What outbursts?" "I've always controlled myself." "The Anderson acquisition meeting when you rejected their lowball offer. Apparently, you raised your voice. She documented it as irrational, anger-threatening company relationships. I remembered that meeting. I'd been passionate, not angry. There was a difference. What else? Financial decisions she's labeled as sentiment over strategy. The charity partnership with Mama Elena's foundation. The employee retention program. Things that cost money, but weren't strictly profitable. My throat tightened. Those were good decisions. I know, but she's framing them as emotional choices rather than business logic. I started the engine, needing to move. What's her timeline? Hearing next Friday. If she wins, she gets temporary control while you undergo psychological evaluation. And if I refuse, the shareholders can vote you out anyway. She's got enough backing. I drove through empty Makati streets, processing the scope of her betrayal. Not just attacking me, but dismantling everything I'd built with careful precision. At home, I climbed to my study. 30 years of memories lined the walls. Awards, photos, the detritus of a successful life. I opened my safe and pulled out Elena's letters, the ones she'd written during her final months when she knew she was dying. When she tried to warn me about priorities. "Rick, Patricia needs your attention more than the company does. She thinks you don't love her." I dismissed Elena's concerns then. Patricia was successful, independent, thriving. How could she doubt my love? But doubt apparently had festered into something darker. I found the folder marked Patricia, personal school records, report cards, photos from company events where she'd stood beside me, proud and eager. When had that pride curdled into resentment? My computer chimed with an encrypted email from Attorney Miguel, legal documents. Patricia's formal complaint, dense with accusations and medical recommendations. Subject displays increasing emotional volatility and attachment to outdated business practices. His refusal to embrace modern corporate strategies suggest diminished cognitive flexibility consistent with early-stage dementia or depression following spousal loss. Depression following spousal loss. They were using Mama Elena's death against me, using my grief as evidence of incompetence. I poured 3 fingers of whiskey and kept reading. Character witnesses who'd testified to my declining judgment. Financial analysts who'd argue my decisions were emotionally driven. Medical experts prepared to suggest I needed compassionate intervention. A full-scale character assassination wrapped in concern for my well-being. The brilliance was undeniable and painful. At 1 a.m., I closed the laptop and sat in darkness. Rain continued against the windows. The house felt enormous and empty. Elena's photograph watched from my desk. She'd known this day would come, had tried to prevent it. She doesn't understand why you love the company more than her. But I didn't love the company more. I'd built it for her, for our family's future. Every late night, every missed dinner, every sacrifice had been for them. Somehow I'd failed to communicate that. Failed to show Patricia that my ambition was love expressed in the only language I knew. Now she was speaking a different language, the language of corporate warfare, and she'd learned it well. Too well. I opened my phone and started typing notes, names of allies, potential strategies, ways to prove my competence while dismantling her case. If Patricia wanted a war, she'd get one. But she'd underestimated her opponent. I hadn't built Buena Vista by surrendering to superior forces. I'd built it by outthinking them. Dawn was still hours away, but I felt something stirring, not just anger or hurt, but strategy, purpose. My daughter had declared war on everything I'd built, everything I was. Time to remind her who taught her how to fight. The elevator climbed toward Bert's floor with deliberate precision. I shifted the briefcase containing 2 weeks of evidence. Time to stop playing defense. Bert Reyes's corner office occupied the same building as mine, 3 floors down. Same view of Manila Bay, different perspective on everything else. His assistant waved me through. "He's expecting you, Mr. Buena Vista." Bert looked up from quarterly projections, reading glasses perched on his nose. 60 years of friendship in those familiar blue eyes. "Rick, perfect timing. I was just reviewing that. We need to talk." I set the briefcase on his conference table with a deliberate thud. Closed the door. Something in my tone made him move quickly. The door clicked shut. "What's wrong?" "Patricia is trying to have me declared incompetent." Bert's face went through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Confusion, disbelief, concern. "That's impossible." I opened the briefcase. Legal documents spread across the polished table like battle plans. "She filed suit 2 weeks ago, wants temporary control while I undergo psychological evaluation." Bert sank into his chair. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I needed to understand the scope first. I pulled out the shareholder analysis. "Look at this." The document showed our investor base mapped like a military campaign. Green for loyal, red for convinced by Patricia, yellow for undecided. Too much red. "Castro's already committed," I said. "Carmen Reyes, too. 3 others." Bert studied the names. "Rick, she promised Castro 15% dividend increase. Based on what? Staff cuts. She talks about implementing AI and automation." I felt something cold settle in my chest. That would destroy the company culture we built for 30 years. But young shareholders don't understand this. They only care about numbers. Bert had been monitoring internal communications. Co-founder privileges included access to company email systems. The intelligence he'd gathered painted a clear picture. Patricia had been methodical. Each shareholder approached with tailored promises. Castro got profit projections. Reyes received efficiency studies. Others heard modernization speeches. "She's selling them a fantasy," I said. "A profitable fantasy." Bert pulled up email chains on his computer. "Look at these revenue forecasts she's sharing. The numbers were aggressive, unrealistic, based on firing half our senior staff and automating customer service. This isn't innovation. It's corporate vandalism. Try explaining that to shareholders watching tech stocks soar." I spread financial reports across the table. Our actual performance over 3 years. Steady growth, consistent profits, satisfied employees. "We've averaged 12% annual growth," I said. "Our retention rate is 94%. Customer satisfaction scores are industry-leading, but she's promising 25% growth through strategic restructuring." The phrase made me sick. Strategic restructuring, corporate speak for destroying lives. "What about Castro? Is he completely lost?" Bert leaned back. "Maybe not. He respects long-term stability, but he's scared of missing the next big wave." Then we remind him what happens to companies that chase every trend. I pulled out a folder marked competition analysis. Companies that had followed Patricia's preferred strategy. Most had imploded within 5 years. "Remember TechFlow Industries?" Bert nodded grimly. "Automated everything. Stock price tripled. Then customer service collapsed." "Exactly. They're worth 20% of their peak now. We spent the next hour mapping strategy. Which shareholders could be saved? What evidence would convince them? How to present our case without seeming desperate? The rain outside had intensified. February in Manila meant constant gray skies. Perfect weather for corporate warfare. There's something else, Bert said quietly. Her legal representation. Atay Lorna de Guzman. Atay. Miguel briefed me. She's good. Aggressive. Turns courtrooms into theater. Then we give her a better show. Bert's computer chimed with a calendar reminder. Board meeting next week. Routine quarterly review. She'll make her move there, I said. Unless we move first. I closed the briefcase but left the analysis documents spread across Bert's table. Visual evidence of our campaign. Schedule a meeting with Castro, I said. This week, private lunch. What's your angle? Fear. Show him what happens to investors who bet against proven leadership. Bert was already reaching for his phone, scrolling through contacts. Thursday, work, the peninsula downtown. Perfect, neutral ground. The afternoon light was fading outside. In 2 hours, I'd transformed from victim to general. Patricia wanted a war. She'd get one. But she'd underestimated her enemy. I hadn't built Buena Vista Tech by surrendering to superior forces. I'd built it by outthinking them. Ata Miguel's law office occupied the 20th floor of Ayala Tower, all mahogany and leather-bound authority. I arrived 10 minutes early, briefcase heavy with Bert's intelligence. The receptionist offered coffee. I accepted. This would be a long morning. Mr. Buena Vista. Ata Miguel appeared in his office doorway. Ready for war. His conference room had been transformed into a command center. Patricia's lawsuit documents covered one wall. My defense materials occupied another. Between them, empty space waiting for battle plans. Show me everything, I said. Ata Miguel lifted a thick folder. Patricia's official filing. 47 pages of accusations, evidence, and medical recommendations. I flipped through pages of surgical character assassination. Every passionate defense of company values reframed as emotional instability. Every innovative risk repositioned as declining judgment. She claims you've lost touch with market reality. Our profits grew 12% last year. But she says that's due to her initiatives, not yours. Classic rewriting history with herself as the hero. What about her evidence? A tie. Miguel pulled out a separate stack. 6 months of documentation, meetings where you allegedly showed inappropriate emotional responses, financial decisions she labels as sentiment over strategy, the Anderson acquisition, the charity partnership with Mama Elena's foundation, the employee retention program. All good decisions, all profitable in the long term, all dismissed as emotional weakness, and her legal representation. Atay Lorna de Guzman. Ata Miguel's expression darkened. 38 wins in 42 competency hearings. She specializes in family business disputes, meaning she knows how to make loving fathers look like declining patriarchs. I studied Lorna's photograph on Atay Miguel's computer. Sharp features, predatory smile, a woman who'd built a career on destroying family legacies. Atay. Lorna de Guzman is known for turning court sessions into theater. Then we write a better script. Atay Miguel pulled out our defense strategy, character witnesses, financial evidence, medical evaluations, proving my mental acuity. I've scheduled cognitive assessments with 3 independent doctors, blood work, psychological evaluation, complete physical. Overkill? Necessary. Lorna will question your competence from every angle. The irony was bitter. At 62, I was sharper than most men half my age. But Patricia had weaponized my grief over Elena's death. She's claiming delayed trauma response, emotional deterioration following spousal loss, manifesting in poor business judgment and increased volatility, using Elena's memory against me. The calculation was breathtaking. What's our counter strategy? Atay. Miguel smiled for the first time that morning. Turn her greatest strength into weakness. He spread out our own evidence, Patricia's promises to shareholders, unrealistic financial projections, email chains showing her 6-month deception campaign. We're filing a countersuit for what? Breach of fiduciary duty, conspiracy to defraud shareholders, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The last charge felt personal, which it was. Will it work? It'll force her to defend her own actions instead of just attacking yours. Atira Miguel produced a formal document, our counter lawsuit. 23 pages of legal accusations wrapped in corporate language. She'll be furious. Good. Angry people make mistakes. I signed the papers with steady hands. No trembling now, just cold determination. When do we file? Today. Lorna will have it by 5 p.m. The rain outside had turned to sleet. February in Manila was always brutal. Perfect weather for legal warfare. One more thing, Atira Miguel said. The hearing date? March 15th, 3 weeks. I calculated rapidly. Enough time to prepare witnesses, if we move fast. Atira Miguel's assistant knocked. Excuse me, Mr. Reyes is here for the 11:30 appointment. Bert entered carrying his own briefcase. The alliance was expanding. Gentlemen, he said, ready to save our company. The three of us stood around the conference table looking at evidence of family betrayal spread across polished mahogany. Patricia wanted to play legal games, I said. Now she gets to learn the rules. Outside, Makati's skyline disappeared into gray mist. But inside this room, clarity was crystallizing. War had been declared. Positions had been chosen. Time to remind my daughter who taught her how to fight. I arrived 15 minutes early, choosing a table by the window overlooking the market's controlled chaos. March in Manila brought tentative spring warmth, vendors hawking early flowers beneath cloudy skies. The coffee was bitter, appropriate. Patricia appeared at 2:15 sharp, dressed in her charcoal business suit, armored for battle. She surveyed the cafe before approaching, calculating exits and witnesses. Dad. She sat across from me, maintaining distance. Thank you for coming. Your message said it was important. I studied her face. She looked tired, thinner than at our last dinner. Carrying the weight of deception wasn't easy, even for her. How's Sophia? Fine. Asking about you. The words carried accusation. I was the absent grandfather, the workaholic father, the man who chose business over family. And Anton? Busy with his projects. Her voice was carefully neutral. We were dancing around the real conversation. Two combatants testing defenses before engaging. Patricia, why didn't you come to me directly? Something flickered in her expression. Surprise, guilt. About what? Still maintaining the lie. Impressive. About your concerns, your ideas for the company, your plans. When I tried, you were always busy with the company. There it was, the heart of everything. I built this for you. Her laugh was bitter. No, Dad, you built it for yourself. I was just an addition. The accusation hit like a physical blow. That's not true, isn't it? She leaned forward, anger breaking through careful control. Every family dinner interrupted by business calls. Every vacation cut short for meetings. Every school play you missed because of board presentations. Memories flooded back. Elena's disappointed faces. Patricia's resigned acceptance when I couldn't attend her college graduation ceremony. I was providing for our family. You were feeding your ego. Silence stretched between us. Market vendors called their prices outside. Normal life continuing while we dissected 35 years of accumulated hurt. I want to modernize the company, but you block all my initiatives. I want to preserve what works. What works? Her voice rose slightly. Dad, we're falling behind. Tech companies are outpacing us. Our systems are outdated. Our methods are antiquated. Our methods built something lasting, something dying. She pulled out her phone, showing me industry projections, charts and graphs that painted Buena Vista Tech as a dinosaur waiting for extinction. Automation could increase our efficiency by 40%. AI implementation could cut operational costs in half. Remote work options could expand our talent pool globally and eliminate half our workforce in the process. Some positions would be restructured. Destroyed. I finished. You're talking about destroying lives, families, people who've given us decades of loyalty. Her jaw tightened. Business isn't about loyalty, Dad. It's about results. When did you become so cold? When I realized sentiment doesn't pay dividends. The words hung between us like a blade. This wasn't my daughter speaking. This was someone else entirely. Who taught you that? You did. She met my eyes directly. Every time you chose the company over us. Every time you proved that success mattered more than people. I felt something break inside my chest. Not anger, not betrayal, understanding. You never meant a lot of things, Dad. She gathered her phone and purse. But intentions don't change results. Patricia, wait. She stood, looking down at me with Elena's eyes in a stranger's face. I'm not the little girl waiting by the window anymore. I don't need your approval. I don't need your permission, and I don't need your company. But you want it. I want to save it from you. She turned and walked toward the exit, heels clicking against hardwood floors. At the doorway, she paused. Give Sophia my love. Then she was gone, disappearing into the market crowd. I sat alone with cold coffee and colder understanding. My daughter wasn't just taking my company. She was taking revenge for 35 years of perceived neglect. And maybe she was right. The courthouse steps were slick with morning rain. I climbed them slowly, briefcase in hand, watching Patricia's legal team arrange themselves like predators, a tie. Lorna de Guzman stood at their center, sharp suit gleaming under gray manila skies. Patricia wore navy blue, conservative, competent, the beautiful daughter protecting family assets from a declining patriarch. She didn't meet my eyes. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with quiet energy. Shareholders filled the gallery. Business reporters, curious attorneys drawn by family drama played out in public. Attar Miguel touched my arm. Remember, stay calm. Answer clearly. Judge Harrison called court to order. 70 years old, silver hair, reputation for no-nonsense proceedings. Case number 2025-347. Buena Vista versus Buena Vista Tech Incorporated. Attorney Lorna de Guzman rose like a striking snake. Your Honor, this case concerns an aging executive whose judgment has become compromised by grief and stubbornness. She walked toward the jury box, gesturing elegantly, performance art masquerading as legal argument. Mr. Buenavista has lost the ability to make rational decisions. His emotional attachment to outdated business practices threatens shareholder value and employee security. Documents flew across the screen. Financial charts, meeting transcripts, 6 months of carefully curated evidence. The plaintiff, Ms. Patricia Buenavista Miller, seeks temporary guardianship to protect the company her father built from his own declining capabilities. Lorna's voice carried across the courtroom like honey-coated poison. Professional, persuasive, deadly. Then Patricia took the witness stand. My daughter, my brilliant, ambitious daughter, sworn in under oath to destroy me. Ms. Buenavista Miller, Lorna began softly. Please describe your father's recent behavior. My father is guided by emotions, not business logic. Patricia's voice stayed steady. He makes decisions based on personal feelings rather than financial data. Can you provide examples? The charity partnership with my mother's foundation. It costs us $10 million annually with no measurable return. When I suggested redirecting those funds, he became agitated. Agitated? Eleanor's memory reduced to a line item. What about strategic planning? He refuses to consider automation or AI integration. Claims it would destroy company culture. Meanwhile, our competitors gain market share through technological advancement. Lorna nodded sympathetically. How has this affected company performance? We're stagnating. Growth has slowed. Efficiency metrics lag behind industry standards. Lies wrapped in half-truth. Our growth was steady, sustainable. Our employees were loyal because we treated them as people, not resources. In your professional opinion, what does the company need? Fresh leadership, modern strategies, focus on profits rather than sentiment. The words hit like physical blows. This wasn't my daughter speaking. This was someone else entirely. Atavar Miguel's cross-examination was surgical. Ms. Buenavista Miller. What was Buenavista Tech's profit margin last quarter? 12%, and the quarter before, 11.7%. So under your father's supposedly incompetent leadership, profits are increasing. Short-term fluctuations don't indicate long-term viability. What about employee retention? 94% annually. Industry average? Patricia hesitated. 67%. So your father maintains higher employee satisfaction than industry standard while increasing profits. Retention can indicate resistance to necessary change. Atavar Miguel smiled coldly. Or exceptional leadership. Lorna objected. Judge sustained, but damage was done. James Castro testified next. Straightforward, profit-focused. We need leadership that prioritizes shareholder value. Ms. Buenavista Miller understands modern business realities. When the morning session ended, I felt drained. Watching your daughter publicly dissect your competence required a strength I didn't know I possessed. But Atavar Miguel squeezed my shoulder. Phase 1 complete. Tomorrow, we fight back. Outside, Manila's spring rain continued. Patricia walked past without acknowledging me, surrounded by her legal team. My little girl, who used to wait by the window for Daddy to come home. Now she couldn't wait for me to disappear. My assistant knocked softly. Mr. Buenavista, there's something you need to see. Sarah placed a folder on my desk marked Employee Communications Confidential. Her face was grim. Patricia's been holding private meetings, promising salary increases that would bankrupt us. I opened the folder. Meeting transcripts, email threads, 6 weeks of secret promises to key employees. 20% salary increases across engineering, 30% for department heads, stock options that didn't exist. Where did you get this? People talk, Mr. Buenavista, especially when promises sound too good to be true. Bert Reyes arrived as I was reading the worst of it. His expression matched Sarah's. We have a problem, Rick. He dropped his own briefcase on the conference table. Patricia is approaching new shareholders, pension funds, investment groups, painting you as an obstacle to explosive growth. Bert pulled out printed emails. Patricia promises employees 20% salary increases based on what? Magic. She's telling them automation will cut costs so dramatically that massive raises are inevitable. The mathematics were impossible. Even full automation wouldn't generate enough savings for her promised increases. She's committing fraud. Gets better. Bert powered up his laptop. I've been monitoring internal communications. Found something interesting about her lawyer. Atavar Lorna de Guzman's face appeared on screen. Professional photograph attached to a news article. Lorna was sanctioned by the Bar Association 2 years ago. Suborned perjury in a similar case. Temporarily suspended from practice. My phone rang. Atavar Miguel's number. Rick. I have evidence that Ati Lorna de Guzman violated ethical standards. What kind of evidence? She coached Patricia's testimony, told her exactly what to say, how to phrase accusations. That's witness tampering. The pieces were falling into place. Patricia's polished performance hadn't been natural confidence. It had been scripted. More importantly, Atavar Miguel continued. I found financial irregularities in Patricia's account management. What irregularities? Patricia transferred funds between accounts without your consent. 3 separate occasions. Total amount, P42 million. The number hit like ice water. For what? Legal fees, consultant payments, campaign expenses for her takeover bid. I looked at Bert. His expression confirmed he was hearing this too. That's embezzlement. Technically, it's unauthorized use of corporate funds, but yes, it's criminal behavior. Bert leaned forward. This could change the case direction. More than change it. This could destroy her. The irony was bitter. My daughter had wanted to prove my incompetence by demonstrating her own criminal stupidity. I walked to the window, looking out at Makati's skyline, the city where I'd built everything, where Elena had lived and died, where our family had grown and fractured. Atavar Miguel, how do we present this? Carefully. We don't want to look vindictive, just competent. And Lorna's ethics violations? I'll file a complaint with the Bar Association. Simultaneously present evidence to the judge. Bert was organizing documents across my conference table. Financial records, employee communications, email chains showing Patricia's deception. The question is timing, I said. Next hearing is Monday. Lorna will expect us on defense again. Instead, we attack. I studied the evidence spread across my office. 30 years of building a company, and my daughter had tried to destroy it with 6 months of lies, but lies eventually revealed themselves. Schedule a meeting with our character witnesses. I want them prepared for aggressive cross-examination. Bert nodded. Already done. Patricia from accounting, David from engineering. They'll testify to your competence and her deceptions. What about the employees she made promises to? Most are confused. They trusted her, but the numbers don't add up. The late afternoon sun slanted through my office windows. Manila in April could be beautiful when the rain stopped. I'll head home early, I said. Plan our presentation tonight. Bert gathered his documents. We've got enough ammunition to sink a battleship. Let's hope we can aim it accurately. After they left, I sat alone in my office. The silence felt different now, not empty, focused. Tomorrow we'd remind everyone who built Buena Vista Tech and why it deserved better than my daughter's desperate ambitions. The courthouse felt different this time. Tension crackled like electricity as all parties assembled. Patricia sat with Lorna, confident from their previous performance. They hadn't seen what was coming. Judge Harrison called court to order. Mr. Ramos, you may present additional evidence. Attorney Miguel rose slowly, deliberately, a predator who'd found wounded prey. Your Honor, the plaintiff conducted unauthorized financial operations. Lorna shot to her feet. Objection. This is beyond the scope. Overruled. Continue, Mr. Ramos. Attorney Miguel approached the evidence table like a surgeon selecting instruments. During discovery, we found 3 unauthorized transfers from corporate accounts. Total amount, P42 million. The number echoed through the courtroom. Patricia's face went pale. These funds were used to finance Ms. Buenavista Miller's legal campaign against her father, without board approval, without documentation, without authorization. Attorney Miguel projected bank statements onto the courtroom screen. Dates, amounts, recipient accounts. This constitutes embezzlement of corporate funds. Lorna was scrambling. Your Honor, these accusations are desperate attempts at discreditation. Desperate. Attorney Miguel smiled coldly. These are bank records. Mathematics doesn't lie. He turned toward Patricia. She looked smaller somehow, the confident executive replaced by a trapped woman watching her world collapse. Furthermore, we have evidence of witness tampering. Lorna's composure cracked completely. That's preposterous. Ms. de Guzman coached her client's testimony, provided specific phrases, emotional cues, strategic answers. We have recordings. Judge Harrison leaned forward. Recordings. Office security cameras with audio capability. Ms. de Guzman's coaching sessions were inadvertently recorded during building security sweeps. The judge's expression darkened. I want those recordings reviewed immediately. When my turn came to testify, I felt calm, centered, ready. Mr. Buenavista, Attorney Miguel began formally. How long have you managed Buena Vista Tech? 30 years. I founded the company in 1995 with P2.5 million borrowed against my house. Current annual revenue, P12 billion. Net profit, P1.4 billion. Employee count, 900. Have you been declared incompetent by any medical professional? No. I underwent comprehensive evaluation last month. Cognitive function tests, psychological assessment, physical examination. All results were normal for my age. Attorney Miguel presented my medical reports. Clean bills of health from 3 independent doctors. In your professional opinion, why is your daughter pursuing this legal action? I looked at Patricia. She was staring at her hands, unable to meet my eyes. She believes I've prioritized company culture over maximum profits. She wants to implement automation and cost-cutting measures that would eliminate jobs and reduce employee benefits. Is profit maximization always the correct business strategy? No. Sustainable growth requires balancing profitability with employee satisfaction, customer loyalty, and community responsibility. How has this philosophy affected company performance? We've maintained consistent growth for 30 years. Employee retention exceeds industry standards. Customer satisfaction scores remain in the 95th percentile. Miguel nodded. I've managed this company for 30 years and know every number, every employee, every strategic decision. My daughter wants to sacrifice long-term stability for short-term gains. Lorna's cross-examination was desperate. Mr. Buenavista, isn't it true that you've resisted modernization? I've resisted reckless change. Technology serves business goals, not the reverse. Your daughter claims you're emotionally unstable. My daughter is young and impatient. She confuses passion with instability, conviction with stubbornness. She says, "You make decisions based on sentiment. I make decisions based on experience. 30 years of building something lasting." Lorna kept attacking, but her arrows were missing their target. The evidence was overwhelming. Patricia had overplayed her hand spectacularly. When James Castro testified again, his confidence had evaporated. I may have been overly optimistic about projected returns. Are you still supporting Ms. Buenavista Miller's leadership bid? Long pause. I'm reconsidering my position. Lorna's closing argument sounded hollow. Despite these allegations, the core issue remains. Mr. Buenavista's resistance to necessary modernization. But Attorney Miguel's response was surgical. The core issue is whether a daughter can steal her father's company through lies, embezzlement, and witness tampering. Judge Harrison's face was granite. Order in the court. Given the serious allegations of financial misconduct and potential ethics violations, this case requires additional review. Patricia finally looked at me. Her eyes were Elena's eyes, filled with confusion and fear. The court will reconvene in 1 week for final decision. As the courtroom emptied, Patricia approached slowly. Dad. For a moment, she looked like the little girl who used to ask for bedtime stories. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did, sweetheart. It did. She walked away with her ruined legal team, leaving me alone with the wreckage of our family. Victory felt hollow when it meant destroying your own daughter. All rise for the Honorable Judge Harrison. The courtroom stood as one. Shareholders, lawyers, family members who'd become strangers. I felt Bert's reassuring presence beside me as the judge entered with the weight of decision. Judge Harrison settled behind his bench, papers arranged with judicial precision. Please be seated. The silence was absolute. 3 months of family warfare reduced to this moment. In the matter of Buenavista versus Buenavista Tech Incorporated, I have reached my decision. My heart hammered against my ribs. Across the aisle, Patricia sat rigid in her chair, Lorna's hand on her shoulder. After reviewing all evidence, testimony, and documentation, the court finds no grounds for declaring Mr. Buenavista incompetent to manage his business affairs. Relief flooded through me like warm water, but it felt hollow. Furthermore, the evidence of financial irregularities and potential witness tampering raises serious concerns about the plaintiff's conduct. Patricia's shoulders sagged. The fight went out of her completely. The case is dismissed. Mr. Buenavista retains full control of Buenavista Tech Corporation. Bert leaned forward. Justice has prevailed. But justice felt cold when it meant destroying your daughter. Attorney Miguel shook my hand professionally. Congratulations, Rick. Your competency has been vindicated. Vindicated. The word tasted bitter. Across the courtroom, James Castro was already moving toward us, opportunistic as always. Mr. Buenavista, I want to express my full confidence in your continued leadership. Yesterday he was backing Patricia's revolution. Today he was my loyal supporter. Of course, James, business as usual. Adazar Lorna de Guzman gathered her papers with mechanical precision. Her career had taken a significant blow. Patricia sat motionless, staring at her hands. The courtroom began emptying. Reporters scribbled notes. Shareholders whispered strategies. Normal people returning to normal lives after watching a family tear itself apart. But I couldn't move. Victory should feel better than this. Bert touched my arm. You did what you had to do. Did I? Or did I just prove Patricia right about my priorities? You protected what you built, what we built. The company was safe, my reputation intact, the shareholders reassured. Everything I'd fought for preserved, except my relationship with my daughter. Patricia stood slowly, gathering her purse. Anton waited by the courtroom doors, relief evident on his face. The ordeal was over for him too. But she looked so small, so defeated. I made a decision that surprised even me. Patricia. She turned, eyes red-rimmed but dry, no tears left. Dad, this doesn't have to be the end of our story. Something flickered in her expression. Hope. Fear. I lost everything. No, you only lost a battle, not the war with life. Bert was watching us carefully. Atayer Miguel pretended to organize papers while listening. Can we talk privately? Patricia glanced at Anton. He nodded encouragingly. Not here, she said quietly. Coffee somewhere neutral. I need time to process this. Of course. I stepped closer. You're still my daughter. You're still brilliant. You're still capable of great things. Her composure cracked slightly. Even after everything I did? Especially after everything you did. It took courage to challenge me, even if the method was wrong. She looked at me with Elena's eyes, confused and hurt, but seeing something new. I will call you next week. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. As she walked away with Anton, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not victory, not vindication. Hope. The company was mine. The family could still be saved. And maybe, just maybe, we could build something better together. 10 days of waiting had led to this bench overlooking Manila Bay. The water sparkled in late afternoon sun, Makati's skyline rising like promises behind the trees. I'd arrived early, needing time to prepare. This conversation would determine whether we had a future or just a legal past. Patricia appeared at 3:15, walking slowly across the grass. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, no business armor, no defensive walls, just my daughter. Dad. She sat beside me, maintaining careful distance. Thank you for coming. I've been thinking about what you said at the courthouse. The lake lapped against the shore. Joggers passed, normal life continuing while we attempted to rebuild ours. Dad, I never felt like you were proud of me. The words hit like physical blows. Patricia, every achievement felt invisible. Every success seemed less important than the next board meeting. I turned to face her fully. I was always proud of you. I just didn't know how to show it. Mom tried to tell you. She said, I needed words, not just opportunities. Elena's voice echoed across 5 years. She needs your attention more than the company does. Your mother was wiser than I gave her credit for. I wanted to prove I was worthy of your love. My love doesn't need proof. It's unconditional. She laughed bitterly. Then why did it feel so conditional? Why did every conversation become about work? Why was the company always more important? I stared at the water, watching boats navigate toward harbor. How do you explain 30 years of misguided priorities? I built Buena Vista for you, for our family's future. Every late night, every missed dinner, every sacrifice. I thought I was providing security, but you were also providing distance. Yes, I was. The admission felt like releasing held breath. I confused providing with parenting, success with love. Patricia's eyes filled. I needed my father, not a benefactor, and I needed to learn the difference. Silence stretched between us. Not uncomfortable now. Honest. When I filed that lawsuit, I wasn't just fighting for the company. I was fighting for recognition, for validation that I mattered to you. You've always mattered. I just showed it poorly. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I nearly destroyed everything. No, you nearly saved us. How can you say that? I embezzled money. I lied to shareholders. I tried to have you declared incompetent. You forced honesty. You made us confront what was broken. The lake reflected afternoon clouds. Manila in late spring felt full of possibility. What happens now? She asked. That depends. Do you still want to modernize the company? You'd trust me with that? What do you say about shared leadership? Patricia stared at me. Are you ready to trust me with part of the company? I'm ready to trust you with the future of the company. Her breath caught. Meaning, co-CEOs. Your innovation, my experience. Partnership instead of war. You do that after everything? Because of everything. You were right about modernization. I was right about culture. Together, we could build something Elena would be proud of. Patricia stood, pacing to the water's edge. I watched her process the proposal, seeing Elena's thoughtfulness in her movements. Full partnership, equal authority, shared responsibility, father-daughter, leadership team. She turned back. What about the board? Bert's already supportive. The shareholders want stability and growth. We can provide both. And the employees? They'll respect the Buena Vista name, both of us. She walked back, sitting closer this time. I have conditions. Name them. Full transparency. No decisions without consultation. Modern technology implementation. Employee profit-sharing program. Agreed. My conditions. Maintaining company culture. Gradual change, not revolutionary. Family time protected. Family time. Weekly dinners. No business talk during Sophia's bedtime stories. Elena's foundation continues. Patricia smiled for the first time in months. Deal. I extended my hand. Partners. She shook it firmly. Partners. Then she surprised me by leaning forward, hugging me tightly. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. I always have. We held each other by Manila Bay as the afternoon faded. Father and daughter becoming something new. Business partners, family, future. The kitchen smelled like Elena's favorite recipe. Patricia moved between stove and counter with practiced efficiency, but tonight felt different. Celebration was in every gesture. Dad, I prepared your favorite dish. I arrived carrying a wrapped package and my grandfather's smile. Something smells like your mother's cooking. Same recipe, same love. The table was set formally, but warmly. Candles, good china, the kind of attention reserved for special occasions. Sophia bounded into the room wearing a dress with paint stains. Lolo. Sophia, Lolo brought you something special. I handed her the wrapped package. She tore through paper with 4-year-old enthusiasm, revealing a miniature business suit. For when you're ready to run Buena Vista. Sophia giggled, holding the tiny jacket against herself. Will I be the boss? Someday, sweetheart. Someday you might be. Anton emerged from his office, architectural plans tucked under his arm. I'm glad we're one family again. So am I. I meant it completely. Dinner conversation flowed naturally. Sophia chattered about preschool. Anton discussed his latest project, a children's museum downtown. Patricia shared preliminary plans for Buena Vista Tech's technological modernization. Gradual implementation, she emphasized, respecting existing staff while improving efficiency. The best of both worlds, I agreed. After dessert, Patricia produced a manila folder, ready to make this official. The partnership agreement was elegant in its simplicity. Shared authority, complementary responsibilities, dispute resolution protocols, everything two stubborn business leaders needed to work together. Sophia, are you not sad anymore? I looked down at my granddaughter, who was observing us with childlike wisdom. No, sweetheart. Now Lolo is happy because Mommy and Lolo are friends again. Because we're family again. I signed the documents with steady hands. Patricia followed, her signature bold and confident. Anton produced champagne from the refrigerator. I thought we might celebrate. Perfect timing. We stood in the dining room, glasses raised. 4 generations of family, past, present, and future, united again. To Buena Vista Tech's new future, Patricia declared. To family partnerships, I added. To not fighting anymore. Sophia contributed solemnly. We laughed, us clinking glasses carefully to include her apple juice. Anton raised his glass higher. To Elena, who would have loved seeing this moment. To Elena. We echoed. I felt her presence in the room, in Patricia's smile, in Sophia's laughter, in the possibility of healing. The champagne tasted like hope. What happens Monday? Sophia asked. Monday, Mommy and Lolo go to work together, Patricia explained. Like a team? Exactly like a team. I picked up Sophia, spinning her gently. The best team in Manila. Outside, summer was beginning. Long days, warm nights, new possibilities. Inside, we were beginning too. Not the same family we'd been before the war. Something better, something honest. As evening deepened, we moved to the living room. Sophia showed me her latest drawings. Patricia and Anton planned next week's schedule. Simple domestic moments that felt profound after months of legal warfare. At 8:30, I prepared to leave, arms full of Sophia's artwork, heart full of possibility. See you Monday, partner, Patricia said. See you Monday, Anak. The drive home took me through Manila's familiar streets, past Buena Vista Tower, past the courthouse where we'd fought, past Greenbelt where truth had first emerged. All of it leading to tomorrow, to partnership, to family, to the future Elena had always envisioned for us. I parked in my Forbes Park driveway and sat for a moment looking at Sophia's drawings. Stick figures labeled Lolo and Mommy working together at big desks. A 4-year-old's vision of harmony. Perfect business plan. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Sige na, isinara ko na ang laptop. Tapos na ang giyera. Pero bakit ang pait? Ang katahimikan iba na ngayon. Focused. Kinabukasan ipapaalala ko sa lahat kung sino ang nagtayo ng Buena Vista Tech. Si Patricia, umasa sa sinungaling na abogado at sa walang basehang pangako. Nagpakita siya ng criminal stupidity. Titingnan ko ang kalangitan ng Makati. Dito ko binuo ang lahat. Para sa pamilya. Kung gusto niya ng laban, lalabanan ko siya. Pero ako, hindi lang galit ang nararamdaman. Dangal. At layunin, oras na para paalalahanan ang aking anak kung sino ang nagturo sa kanya kung paano lumaban. Abangan ang susunod na kabanata. Mag-subscribe na.